AEW President Tony Khan confirms that the premiere episode of AEW Collision will take place at the United Center in Chicago, Illinois, paving the way for the AEW return of none other than CM Punk. The very latest on CM Punk's status with AEW, NDAs being signed by the former two-time AEW World Champion, as well as the current status of Ace Steel with All Elite Wrestling. Speaking of All Elite, Aussie Open are officially All Elite after last night's edition of AEW Dynamite. New Japan Pro Wrestling have confirmed the injury to Mercedes Monet. ECW legend Sabu appears on Dynamite last night and will be appearing at Double or Nothing this weekend. The Four Pillars faced off last night on Dynamite ahead of Double or Nothing. Ricky Starks announced that he's going to be in the Blackjack Battle Royale at Double or Nothing. A Double or Nothing match has been changed due to an injury that was revealed on Rampage, and AEW and Upper Deck expand their partnership. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. Let's start off talking about the big announcement last night of the location for the premiere episode of AEW Collision on TNT. Now, we did get a confirmation that it is going to be taking place in Chicago, but Chicago's favorite son, CM Punk, was not announced, even though it's widely expected he is going to be returning to AEW at that Collision event. Now, speculation has continued to run rampant regarding this big announcement in AEW Collision and CM Punk, and AEW CEO Tony Khan announced on last night's edition of AEW Dynamite big news regarding the debut edition of the upcoming Saturday night AEW show, AEW Collision. As wrestling fans continued to wonder about the location for the debut episode of AEW Collision, last night the host city was revealed, and as originally planned, Collision is heading to the United Center in Chicago, Illinois. While there was not an official announcement of an appearance by CM Punk, it certainly seems there is reasonable cause to believe that fans may be heading into a massive summer of Punk in AEW. The plan prior to last week's initial announcement of Collision was for Punk to be featured in promotional material, but that hit a snag when there was a reported disagreement between him and AEW over the status of Punk's associate, Ace Steel. It was reported that a decision was made that Steel, who was reportedly rehired by AEW months ago, would not be allowed backstage at AEW shows, even with the launch of Collision, something which Punk was said to have disagreed with, and when he was removed from all of last week's Collision announcements. Now, according to Dave Meltzer, he even went as far as AEW inquiring about booking Daily's place for June 17 as a backup option in case Punk's return was off the cards, because of course at that point, debuting in Chicago would be an unadvisable move, but that was also widely disputed, with several people saying that was just a rumor that was passed along to Dave Meltzer and there wasn't really any substance to the Daily's Place situation of it being a backup option for AEW Collision. The fact that Chicago is now official all but confirms Punk will indeed be making his return after all. AEW Collision is set to debut on June 17, 2023, live on TNT as All Elite Wrestling expands into offering a second 2-hour weekly show featuring AEW's top talent. In the press release regarding the new show, notable talent referred to as headliners such as Thunder Rosa, Miro, Andrade El Idolo, Samoa Joe and Powerhouse Hobbs were all noted as set to appear on the Saturday night show. Now, when it comes to Punk's return, there had been this conversation and report and rumor about legal documents being sent to CM Punk over the course of the past week. That was kind of pushed back upon, saying, well, they weren't necessarily legal threats of a lawsuit or anything like that. They were more documents for Punk to sign in regards to what he could and couldn't say and what he could and couldn't talk about, Punk showing up at certain shows, etc., etc. And a new update has emerged on the situation with CM Punk and AEW after the announcement from Tony Khan on last night's episode of AEW Dynamite. The announcement was the fact that the debut episode of Collision will indeed be taking place at the United Center in Chicago on June 17, which all but confirms Punk will be appearing, although Punk himself was not announced by name. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer followed up with what he's heard on how the situation resolved itself after the issues last week. He said, quote, "There were a couple of things done. There was some legal stuff that was taken care of. There were NDAs involved in this. I think the key stuff is AEW was protected as far as him showing up for all of the dates. The decision is, as far as we know, that Ace Steel will be working remotely. He will not be an agent going to the Collision shows, which is what the big thing that happened last Tuesday was. So that was how that was settled." The first part of that looks to align with what Fightful Select previously reported, which was, quote, regarding the rumours that Punk was served with legal papers, we've been told that some documents were sent to Punk to be signed over the last week. We haven't been given any indication there were legal threats, but told they covered speaking about certain subjects, disparagement clauses, and ensuring he appears at scheduled television dates, largely to protect AEW in several situations. So that kind of, again, does line up. They weren't necessarily legal threats, but it was kind of similar to what the elites have signed when it comes to we can't talk about those topics, we can't go out on TV and say certain things, we have to show up as well. So AEW is certainly making sure that they do protect themselves. Now, as I mentioned, when it comes to Ace Steel and all of that kind of situation, it does appear that Ace Steel is indeed back with AEW, but he's not going to be at these Collision shows. Ace Steel has reportedly signed a new deal with All Elite Wrestling after he was released from the company last year. According to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, Steele has been re-signed by the company, but he will be working home, as I mentioned, as part of this deal. The report further stated that Steele and AEW management came to an agreement a few weeks ago. So, of course, when it comes to Steele, he was the only one fired following the fight between CM Punk, the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega at All Out, where he reportedly bit Omega and threw a chair at Nick Jackson. Recent reports had indicated that the only stumbling block over CM Punk's return to AEW to feature in the new Collision show was the status of Ace Steel, and now that this issue is seemingly resolved and everyone is on the same page, the United Center has been announced, and indeed CM Punk looks to be returning at the premiere episode of that show. Now, Aussie Open, they are officially All Elite. It's official. Aussie Open have signed with AEW. Following his match against Orange Cassidy for the AEW International Championship on Wednesday's episode of AEW Dynamite, Tony Khan took to Twitter to share the news of the company's newest roster members. Quote, they're one of the top tag teams in the world, and now it's official. Aussie Open are All Elite, wrote Khan. Incredible match tonight, Kyle Fletcher on TBS on Wednesday Night Dynamite, and get well soon, Mark Davis. Congratulations, hashtag Aussie Open. The announcement confirmed a report released by Fightful Select earlier on in the evening, which basically said that back in February, Mark Davis of Aussie Open implied that the team were free agents, and now, of course, that's not the case. Fightful Select were able to confirm 3 months after that indication that they were free agents, when Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher vacated their tag titles at the New Japan Pro Wrestling Resurgence event over the weekend, that the New Japan Pro Wrestling regulars were currently, well, at the time certainly, working without a contract in the company. Now, Fightful Select had learned that WWE had interest in Aussie Open, who had retained their rep for negotiations. However, the latest Fightful had heard as of Resurgence was that AEW was actually very confident that they were going to sign the duo, which of course officially now they have. Aussie Open have been still appearing for the New Japan Pro Wrestling brand, but they were not anchored down to a contract there. They have been working in All Elite Wrestling here and there as well. Fightful have been told that several other members of the tag team division have been proponents of bringing them in. WWE of course has been on a hiring freeze in 2023, but Fightful have been told that Aussie Open did have some supporters in the company as well. Beyond that, Fightful were told that there have been short-term plans for Aussie Open in AEW even before Mark Davis's injury, which is set to be a meniscus injury. During the process, it was actually confirmed to Fightful by those close with Aussie Open that Tony Khan, the AEW president, CEO, head of creative and general manager, had actually paid for Mark Davis's surgery himself, even without the team being under contract. So despite the fact that they weren't All Elite at the time, they hadn't put pen to paper just yet, Tony Khan said, no worries, I'll cover your surgery, just because he wanted to get him through the door and he thought it was the right thing to do. As I mentioned, Kyle Fletcher was scheduled for the May 17 AEW tapings. He was ill. The match was rescheduled for this week, of course, which did happen. The following Sunday, he announced Davis's injury and they relinquished their tag team titles. But indeed, they have signed with All Elite Wrestling. Now, of course, Aussie Open is perhaps best known for its time in New Japan Pro Wrestling as part of United Empire, with Fletcher even making an appearance for the company as recently as 3 days ago, as I mentioned, at the New Japan Pro Wrestling Resurgence event. It was not that joyous occasion, though, as we covered previously. Fletcher announced that he and Davis were relinquishing their IWGP Tag Team Championships and the New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Openweight Tag Team Championships as a result of the aforementioned injury to Davis. The pair had been appearing for New Japan despite not being under contract. So Some people are suggesting this could maybe pave the way for Will Ospreay to sign with AEW once his New Japan Pro Wrestling contract expires. Do you see that being the case? What are your thoughts on AEW signing United Empire's Aussie Open tag team? What are your thoughts on Tony Khan covering the surgery despite the fact that at the time United Empire were not under contract? Let me know your thoughts as always in the comment section below. Now, speaking of New Japan Pro Wrestling, they have confirmed Mercedes Monet's injury. New Japan Pro Wrestling has confirmed that Mercedes Monet has suffered an injury. In a press release on their website, New Japan provided an update on Mercedes Monet after reports that she was injured during the recent New Japan Pro Wrestling Resurgence event. Per New Japan Pro Wrestling, quote, during her match with Willow Nightingale in the main event of Resurgence May 21, Mercedes Monet sustained an injury to her right ankle. Monet underwent a thorough appraisal of her injury immediately after the match and began treatment. New Japan Pro Wrestling joins fans in wishing Monet a full and fast recovery. While news of a confirmed injury are unfortunate, it's hard not to be encouraged by the statement referencing an injury to her right ankle in lieu of initial reports that had speculated that her ankle was broken during the match. Mercedes Monet was injured during the final match of a one-night tournament to determine the inaugural New Japan Strong Women's Champion. It was reported that despite Willow Nightingale winning the match, the original plan was for Monet to win the title and be the inaugural champion, but because of the injury, an audible was called. Now, when it comes to Mercedes Monet, she did actually technically appear and was named on AEW Dynamite last night. Mercedes Monet featured briefly in a video package for AEW star Willow Nightingale on this week's AEW Dynamite. Nightingale, as I mentioned, represented AEW at this past weekend's New Japan Pro Wrestling show Resurgence, where she faced and defeated Monet in the final of the Strong Women's Championship tournament. A video package showcased her victory over Monet, and it aired on Dynamite this week, where the AEW star was even mentioned Monet's name in the voiceover. Obviously, some people are saying, is this a sign that she's coming to AEW? Probably not. It was just a promo package to highlight Willow Nightingale, but certainly anything's possible for Mercedes Monet to come into AEW at some point in the future. Now, switching gears back to AEW Dynamite last night, a surprising appearance from none other than Sabu. It had become a running joke in AEW. Lights go down and someone jokes, it's Sabu, and it never ends up being Sabu. Well, that changed on Wednesday. As Chris Jericho signed a contract for an unsanctioned match against Adam Cole, Jericho scolded the former NXT champion, noting that the 5 members of the Jericho Appreciation Society had the numbers advantage against Adam Cole and Roderick Strong. Cole then revealed that Sabu will be in his corner at Double or Nothing, prompting the Hardcore Wrestling's legend's music to hit. Sabu came to the ring with a steel chair and helped Cole and Strong clear out the Jericho Appreciation Society with ease. For all intents and purposes, Sabu is retired, having not wrestled a match since 2021, which makes him the latest in a long line of veteran wrestlers that have appeared in AEW as something of a mentor-like figure. Sabu is something of a left-field choice for Cole and Strong, it must be said, but I guess with Kyle O'Reilly recovering from neck surgery and Bobby Fish seemingly on the outs with the company, Cole needs someone in his corner alongside Strong, and Sabu's hardcore bona fide makes him a good fit. I don't know. Sabu has a history with another piece of AEW's lineage, as he is the only other man in the history of Extreme Championship Wrestling to hold the FTW Championship besides Taz, which has become something of a legacy title in AEW, currently held by Taz's son Hook. Sabu has not received a graphic indicating that he is in any way signed to AEW or by AEW. It could just be an appearance for this coming weekend, I guess, in Las Vegas, which I think is where he is based. Now, the 4 Pillars are going to be main eventing AEW Double or Nothing this coming weekend, and on last night's go-home edition of AEW Dynamite, before the upcoming pay-per-view, AEW Double or Nothing, the 4 Pillars faced off. After earlier segments featuring thoughts from Jungle Boy Jack Perry and Sammy Guevara, there was an in-ring segment between the current AEW World Champion MJF and Darby Allin. With MJF first addressing the crowd, he was interrupted by Allin, who explained his path to AEW and why he had no intention of leaving anytime soon. Unlike MJF, who continues to threaten departure upon his contract expiring in 2024. They were, however, not alone for long, as after their verbal exchange turned physical, Guevara ran out to make the save on behalf of Allin, chasing MJF away from the ring. However, the champion didn't avoid his comeuppance, as he was struck down by Jungle Boy Jack Perry on the ramp, with the latter later holding up the title bout. Was it a foreshadowing of a new champion on the horizon, or simply a swerve? Of course, we'll have to wait until the pay-per-view to find out. With MJF, Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara and Jungle Boy Jack Perry set to feature in a big 4-way battle for the championship, the stage is set for their big showdown on Sunday. Now, Ricky Starks, he's had a bit of trouble recently on AEW Dynamite, hasn't he, in the form of Bullet Club Gold. But will Ricky Starks be the one to end Orange Cassidy's dominant reign as AEW International Champion? On this week's AEW Dynamite, Starks declared his intentions to enter the Blackjack Battle Royale, slated for Sunday's Double or Nothing, where Cassidy will defend his title against 20 other men. Starks, who has been in a rivalry with Jay White and Juice Robinson of Bullet Club Gold, addressed his plans for Sunday via a backstage interview with Renee Paquette. Every single thing, it's the same thing, Stark said, referring to his rivalry with Bullet Club Gold. I get beat up by Jay and Juice every single match and I'm sick of it. I'm going to take matters into my own hands because I have nothing to lose anymore. Sunday at the Blackjack Battle Royale, I'm refocusing my energy on winning the international title. Starks' interview was abruptly cut short by none other than White and Robinson, again, who jumped him and proceeded to destroy the former FTW champion. A helpless Stark remained on the floor as the segment came to a close. As of this recording, there's no update on the remaining 19 participants in the Blackjack Battle Royale. For what it's worth, the likes of Powerhouse Hobbs, QT Marshall, Action Andretti, Big Bill, Daniel Garcia, Konosuke Takeshita are not currently scheduled for any matches at Double or Nothing, meaning they could be among the participants in the Battle Royal. In fact, even White and Robinson are not on the card for Sunday's pay-per-view, so I guess certainly they could be in the Battle Royal as well. Now, spoilers ahead because this is getting into spoiler territory for Rampage on Friday, but it looks like we're going to have a change to a Double or Nothing match. AEW's next major pay-per-view is Double or Nothing, and it will be taking place this coming weekend, May 28th in Las Vegas. There is a lot of hype for the event thanks to its stacked card, and now appears to be a major change to one of the matches on the show. For the past few weeks now, the Hardys and Brother Zay, Isaiah Cassidy, have been engaged in a feud with the Firm. They even squared off against each other in a Firm deletion match a while ago, where the Hardys came out on top. It was announced on last week's episode of AEW Rampage that the Hardys and Isaiah Cassidy would face off against Ethan Page and the Guns at Double or Nothing. Matt Hardy is set to gain possession of Ethan's AEW contract if his team wins. However, Isaiah Cassidy suffered an injury, leading to fans questioning his status. As seen on this week's AEW Rampage tapings, Hook ended up replacing Isaiah Cassidy and will now team up with the Hardys at Double or Nothing. So we have a replacement, but the match is still going to be taking place. Finally, AEW and Upper Deck have expanded their partnership. All Elite Wrestling is entering the space of digital assets as it's partnering with Upper Deck to release new digital tokenized collectibles called AEW Sensations, according to a new press release. AEW and Upper Deck have worked on trading card products in the past, but Sensations is the first exclusive digital asset they've created with the company. The cards will release quickly and feature the top 3 highlights from that week's AEW programming. The press release mentions that Dynamite and Rampage will be included, but does not mention AEW's soon-to-debut Collision show. According to the press release, each weekly release will feature men's, women's, and tag/group match moment. Packs are limited to 3,000 per week and contain one animated authentic digital collectible, with rare parallel versions randomly inserted across packs. Collectors will then receive further collectibles if they are able to redeem the entire run, will receive a bout die cut achievement as an authentic digital collectible for each corresponding category. AEW was added to Upper Deck's tabletop game vs. System 2PCG following its physical trading card launch in the summer of 2021. The announcement coincides with a big weekend for AEW as the company is currently in Las Vegas, Nevada for its Double or Nothing pay-per-view on Sunday. It also comes just weeks after Impact Wrestling announced that it too is entering the digital asset market as it announced the launch of its own line of NFTs, didn't even realize they were still a thing, that will feature Impact stars such as Santina Morella and former Knockouts champion Mickie James. So there you go, guys. It's the latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.